Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are looking at a true visionary, someone who literally changed how we see the world. We're going to explore the incredible life and legacy of Dr. Patricia Bath. And as we go through this, you'll notice we're using a rather unique visual style to tell her story. Intricate macaroni art. I know, it sounds unusual, but it's actually a surprisingly beautiful, layered way to piece together a life of profound impact and absolute precision. So, let's get started. Okay, let's dive into this. Let's just drop right into a really startling reality in the late 1960s. Imagine two medical clinics in the exact same city. They're separated by just a few miles. But in terms of patient outcomes, they are literally worlds apart. This is a tale of two clinics. It was a reality that a young medical intern faced, and it completely shifted her perspective, eventually setting the stage for a total revolution in global healthcare. But, to fully grasp how she got to that point, we first really need to understand her foundation. Born in Harlem back in 1942, Patricia Bath grew up surrounded by this environment of just unwavering support, which is incredible given the heavy societal hurdles of that era. Her father was a former merchant marine, and he actually made history himself as the very first Black man to work as a motorman for the New York City subway system. And her mother, a domestic worker, diligently saved up her hard-earned money just to buy Patricia her very first chemistry set. I mean, that simple chemistry set was the spark. Her parents didn't just passively stand by, they actively fueled her deep curiosity for the sciences. And man, did that curiosity blossom into outright genius. By the time she was just 16 years old, 16, Patricia was already proving she was a true prodigy. She became one of only a handful of students selected for a super competitive National Science Foundation summer program. And she didn't just attend it, she absolutely thrived. In fact, her research on cancer during that program was so remarkably impressive that it actually earned her a feature in the New York Times. Just think about that for a second. A teenager from Harlem making national headlines for complex cancer research? No way, right? Right, so let's slow down a bit here, because this brings us back to that tale of two clinics I mentioned earlier. During her internship in the late 1960s, Dr. Bath noticed something deeply, deeply alarming. At the Harlem Hospital Eye Clinic, a staggering half of the patients were blind or visually impaired. Half. But then you go just a few miles away to the Columbia University Clinic, which served a much wealthier demographic, and very few patients suffered that same fate. The contrast was devastating. This wasn't just some medical anomaly. It was a glaring mirror reflecting deep societal inequity right in front of her eyes. She actually coined a term for this, the blindness gap. Now, Dr. Bath absolutely refused to just accept this disparity. Her response? She went ahead and invented an entirely new medical discipline, community ophthalmology. This discipline is anchored in one profound, absolutely non-negotiable belief. Sight is a basic human right. She argued with incredible gravity and conviction that the blindness she was seeing in Harlem wasn't simply biology or genetics. Not at all. It was the direct result of a lack of access to basic preventative eye care. And to combat this, she didn't just sit back and write academic papers. She took immediate action. She pioneered a volunteer program to bring critical eye exams and life-changing surgeries directly to those who simply couldn't afford them. Her unmatched drive to democratize eye care just propelled her into spaces where, honestly, no one looked like her. Her resume isn't just a list of jobs. It is a literal timeline of shattered glass ceilings. Look at this. In 1973, she broke a massive barrier, becoming the very first Black person to complete a residency in ophthalmology at New York University. Just 2 years later, in 1975, she headed west and broke another barrier as the first female faculty member in the Department of Ophthalmology at UCLA's prestigious Jules Stein Eye Institute. And then, in 1976, she co-founded the American Institute for the Prevention of Blindness, an institution built entirely on her foundational principle that eyesight is a fundamental human right. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that even as a highly esteemed faculty member, Dr. Bath refused to settle. She decided to take on a very specific physical enemy, cataracts. She was incredibly frustrated by the limitations of the medical tools they had at the time to treat this clouding of the eye's lens, which, by the way, was a leading cause of blindness worldwide. Back then, the standard surgery to fix this was entirely manual. It was this mechanical grinding process that was often imprecise, highly uncomfortable, and frankly, really painful for the patient. Dr. Bath, with her relentless drive for better care, just knew there absolutely had to be a better way. So by 1981, she had a radical idea. But the technology in the US wasn't quite there yet. So what does she do? She travels to Europe, where laser technology was far more advanced, just to perfect her design. And this dedication led to her massive breakthrough in 1986, the invention of the laser phaco probe. Instead of that awful manual grinding, her probe used a highly targeted laser to quickly, accurately, and completely painlessly vaporize the cataract. Vaporize it. And finally, once the clouded lens was out of the way, a new, clear lens was seamlessly inserted to restore the patient's vision. It was elegant, it was precise, it was a total game changer for eye surgery. And that brings us to a monumental year, 1988. This was the year her brilliant laser phaco probe officially received a U.S. medical patent. With that single piece of paper, Dr. Patricia Bath made history all over again, becoming the first Black female doctor ever to receive a medical patent in the United States. It is such an incredible milestone to celebrate, but the true victory isn't just in the history books, it's in the real world. Her groundbreaking technology has since restored the sight of literally millions of people all across the globe. So the crucial point is how all of this incredible history actually shapes our present. Looking at her legacy from where we stand today in 2026, her impact is huge. First, her vision of the community model, actually taking medical care directly out to the community, that remains the absolute gold standard for public health, especially as we still grapple with glaring global healthcare disparities. Second, that foundational laser technology she patented back in the 1980s, that's the direct ancestor of the highly sophisticated laser eye surgeries that we completely take for granted today. And finally, Dr. Bath stands as this towering STEM icon. She is a primary inspiration, particularly for women of color, teaching us all that true technological innovation is at its absolute most powerful when it's driven by deep empathy. This entire journey of vision, both literal and metaphorical, is just beautifully captured by Dr. Bax's own words. Do not allow your mind to be imprisoned by majority thinking. When she looked at a world that passively accepted blindness among the poor as, just the way things are, she simply said no. She steadfastly refused to be imprisoned by the status quo. She literally used light, the laser, to give people back their lives, their independence, and their dignity. As we fade out on this explainer today, I want to leave you with a rather heavy, provocative question to chew on. Here in 2026, as we surround ourselves with all the incredible high-tech marvels of modern medicine, we really have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are we truly using our best tools to help those who need it most? Or, despite all our rapid advancements, are we still blind to the very inequalities Dr. Patricia Bath spent her entire life trying to cure? Thank you so much for joining us, and keep asking the big questions.